I wrote a book about 101 people he thinks you won't meet in heaven. That's my title. So, who do you think he came up with? They mentioned Stalin, Hitler, Charles Manson's on the cover. Who else do you think Mussolini. Mussolini's in the book. Here, I'll give you one too. Mussolini's in the book. Now, here's my question. We can continue. You could probably come up with more names. Here's my point. Why are you able to come up with names in this book, even though you haven't read it? Because there's evil people. So I got a question for you.
Wait, can we raise it?
Does a person have the right to determine right and wrong for themselves?
Yeah.
They do. If that's true, then these people did nothing wrong.
Well, no, they didn't wrong to other people. They chose their fates.
They do what?
They chose their fates. Other people's, like, they were power.
Charles Manson wasn't in any power.
Yes, he was. He had the family. He controlled all those people. It was mind control. That's power.
That is power, isn't it?
Yep.
So, were they wrong in doing that? They were following orders. Okay, do you always have to follow what people tell you to do?
Yeah. Well,
In the military?
If you're brainwashed.
No, you don't. I was in the military. A lot of guys decided not to do what they were told. They got kicked out, right? Well, sometimes they do.
Did extra push-ups.
Extra push-ups, yeah, that's right.
But,
Does a person have the right to determine right and wrong for themselves?
no.
So I'm asking you. I say no. Everybody could write a book and put names in the people they think are scoundrels, right? Because all of us have a sense of right and wrong. We don't want to be violated, and we make judgments on what other people do. So there is a right and wrong, isn't there? Okay, how about this then? We know that there's a heaven, there is a God in heaven. In fact, let me put this up here. Take a look at this. Heaven, say this. No, I just do it. Take a look at this. Heaven is this. That says there? That's God's home. I mean, like, you know, I got a home, I invite in it who I want. If I don't want people in, I put the lock on. Well, God wants people in heaven. Actually, if you read the Bible, it says this. In heaven is a book. It's called, anybody know what it's called? It's called the Book of what? It's called the Book of Life. And in that book are the names of people, the people who will be in heaven. Now, who qualifies? Me. All of us. Well, we'll see. Just let me ask you this question, if you think you're going to be in heaven. Look at this here. Pull in a little bit so my voice will laugh. I won't bite unless you ask. And even then I won't. So go ahead and pull in a little bit, because I don't have a microphone tonight, and I want everybody to hear what I'm about to say. Here's my question for this young man right here.
Am I going to go to heaven?
Well, let me ask you this question first. Can you read what that says a little right there? Are you, or I can put it a different way, do you consider yourself to be a good, what? Person. Right, I mean, this guy wrote a book because he says, I can come up with 101 evil people without any problem. And I mean, if you read about the lives of some of these people that are in here, I mean, some of the things they did were absolutely gross. You ever hear of Wayne Gacy? I mean, he killed kids and ate them and buried them in his cellar. He just lived a couple of decades ago. So, we know there's a heaven, we know there's a God, we know God says, I want people in heaven. Do you consider yourself to be a good person? Good. Okay. Let me give you the good test then. Okay, here it is. Are you a good-looking guy?
Decent.
Decent, okay, okay. Okay, now that just shows you what you look like on the outside, right? Some days I can say decent, some days, man, I say, what in the world happened to you? You know? Especially in the morning when you get up, right? Right. Yeah, then that person doesn't look so good. Now, here's a good test. God says in order to be considered a good person to enter into his heaven, you got to pass his test. Someone asked the Son of God, out of these commandments, what's the greatest? And actually, Jesus used the word love. He said, well, if you love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself, you're on your way to heaven. So let's see if we love our neighbor. Everybody here has parents. How many here have ever dishonored their parents? In other words, they set the rules, you're going to live by them. This guy said in the military, if you don't follow the rules, you're out. Hey, mom and dad can be pretty tough sometimes too, right? So you've broken that one. You're already disqualified, my friend. Yeah, I mean, how many of these do you got to break before you're disqualified? You can't get 9 out of 10.
I'll try it.
That's only 90%. Thou shalt not lie.
Damn.
You ever tell a lie?
Absolutely.
Oh man, there's 2. Thou shalt not commit adultery. That means God created sex, but he said there's 1,001 ways you can commit it, but only one way that I will bless. And the way that God blesses sex is between a man and a woman who are committed in marriage until death they do part. God will bless that relationship as long as you live. But if you violate that, God says you've just broken one of my commandments. So have you kept that one? Are you married?
Yes, sir.
Are you a virgin?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you've broken it. See? Now, it's not looking good, is it? So, I mean, we might, for you, you'd have to say, maybe I'm a bad person then. And here's my point. I mean, it's one thing to laugh about it, but if you're truly kind of upset that you don't live the way you should, I mean, God says thou shalt not murder. You get that one?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're good on that one.
Well, no, you're not. Maybe not. Because when Jesus said, if you have hatred in your heart towards another person, then you've committed murder in your heart. You know how some white people don't like black people and they'll use the N-word? That usually indicates that there's hatred in the heart, right? Or you look at somebody that maybe is overweight or has thick glasses, and so you make a statement. That means that you're despising one of God's creatures. See what I mean? When God says, if you've ever done that, then you have murder in your heart. So my point is this, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to be in heaven, and we know there's going to be people in heaven, if you haven't kept God's rules,